Yuri and Tara, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Congratulations on your debut graphic novel, Topsy
Thank you.
McGee and the Scarab of Solomon. Tell me a
Mhm.
little bit about it.
It's,
Yeah.
it goes back a long way for us. These are characters that we came up with years ago, just sort of on a lark, right? At
Yeah.
first, it started as this is not many people know this.
We're married, of
We're
course.
married, right?
So like we've been
Right.
together for a long time.
Yeah. And a long time ago, since we had been fascinated by the steampunk aesthetic, and telling stories on an like an alternate Victorian timeline was really fun for us. And I knew that she loved this. And once when I was at a convention, I was attending a convention, and there was an artist doing commissions. And I said, hey, for my wife's birthday, will you do a commission of her as this steampunk hero that we always talk about called Topsy McGee?
Because I love strong female heroines, because why wouldn't you? And so just sort of as like just a very sweet husbandy thing to do, he got it for me as a present. And I don't remember where the origin of the idea of Topsy McGee, but we used to sort of like, when we would travel, we would tell stories about characters that were sort of in our mind. And so Topsy was a character that we had already kind of generated in essence, but we didn't have anything like physical to represent her yet. And then once he commissioned this beautiful art, then I was like, oh my God, that's Topsy. Because of course, well, she looks like me, which was kind of delightful. But it kind of like, there was something about seeing her in a real way that kind of made it all very tangible. And from that point, very quickly, we came up with an idea for a short story. And then from that short story, she got her hooks in us. And then we were like, well, what else? What is her world like? And what is she doing? And where is she going? What's going on? And then from there, we started this idea of, well, what if we did a comic book about her? What if that was the way that we pursued it? And we started to work on comics, but that's not our
medium.
That's not
really.
what we're used to doing.
Yeah.
And so it was very slow going, and life had other plans. Now we have a child. Like there's other stuff that was going on. And so it was kind of in the back burner.
Yeah, it started as a short film. We were like, we know how to do that. So we made this short film.
Yeah.
And then there was enough interest from that, from a writer, a showrunner that we knew, Chris Pearson, for him to come to us and say, hey, will you let me write a pilot for that?
For the live action
for a
TV show.
A TV show.
And we were like,
and we said, yes, if you like it that much and you're not asking us to pay you just yet, sure. And so we had this short film and this pilot script, and we shopped it around for a little bit. And the timing was wrong for steampunk. It was when some networks, I think a network had shot a pilot, it had gone terribly, and so everybody was like, steampunk's bad.
Steampunk. Yeah.
So for a while it'd been on the back burner, but we still had these stories we wanted to tell. So like Tara said, we thought, comic books, we can have a little more control over that. We don't have to wait for somebody to greenlight anything or wait for somebody to sign off on something.
Yeah.
So we teamed up with some comic book friends of ours, artists and comic book writers and producers, Comfort and Adam, to get a comic book together.
Yeah.
And that's when it started. But we also found that comic books, when you're not DC or Marvel, take a really long time to make on your own. So it took us a while to turn this story, Topsy McGee and the Scarab of Solomon, into this 3-issue trade paperback graphic novel that's coming out now.
Yeah. But
it is an exploration of those characters, Topsy and Sean,
the husband,
Sean. The husband character. But he is in the story, or in a lot of the ways the dynamic works. He's the hero type. He's the ex-soldier. He's the charming
lieutenant.
Right.
It's just.
But she's usually the one who ends up saving.
She saves the day. She fixes it. Yeah.
But they have a really good a dynamic, which I think we probably model off of ours a little bit. Only they're British, so they're much cooler. They're much cooler than we are.
We also, one of the things that I think excited us and why steampunk is so exciting is you can look at what happened historically and then come up with new solves and new solutions to that. And especially where we are in the world, I think it's very important that we're looking at history to sort of help us solve our path on the way forward and what we're going to do as a society and a world. And so we were able to pull actual people, historical figures, Nikola
Or-
Tesla
or
or Houdini.
Harry Houdini, or characters literature
literary
from
works.
literary
Yeah.
works like Captain Nemo from Jules Verne, and peppering the world with sort of touchstones like that, I think helps people dig into it a little more because they know what that is.
Yeah.
But creating the world has been super fun, and it's funny that we didn't think of this first, but developing it as
An animated series.
an animated series might be more suited for us and possibly easier in today's climate.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, it's what we're more known for is our work in voiceover.
But but we're rambling about
the answer to one question.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Let us know A, if we answered it, and B, what else you'd like to know.
No, you guys definitely answered it. It's really a testament to the story and to the graphic novel, the amount of heart that went into it. I can see it here. It translates really well in the book.
We just got
like
it first.
It's not
galley copy.
Yeah, it's not for sale, but it just came in the mail. We're so excited.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Shiny.
But it's nice to be holding something, in your hand like that. That's real.
So with that amount of work, how does that feel? How did it feel when you guys first opened that package or received it in hands? The tangible book of really this labor of love that goes back so far, even further than that first commission piece, and it just maybe it was conversations in the car on a plane ride in building the story, because I know I've had several conversations like that with my wife where we have fun, but now you guys have turned it into an entire graphic novel.
Yeah, I mean, I was jealous because he got home when the package arrived, and so of course you never always know what's in a package when you open it. He opened it and he was like, "Oh my God, it's here!" And so I was like, "I'm not there."
We couldn't like toast champagne and open it together.
I know, but I will say that when I got home, it was lots of hugging. Like I was very excited to see it.
Yeah, it's nice to because we've lived with these characters for so long, and just the process of putting together the graphic novel has taken so long that to finally be at this place feels very unreal to me.
Yeah. And like I think Yuri said earlier, we're familiar with making films. I mean, that's the industry that we work in. And so creating the film, obviously there was such a sense of pride for that because we knew what that was and we knew what it entailed and we knew how to go about doing it. But this was like our foray into a completely different area. Like it's commissioning artists and letterers and colorists and it's a whole field that we were not familiar with, that was outside of what our comfort zone was and where our knowledge and expertise lie. I mean, we understand story. I mean, I think that's something that we're both very comfortable with. We're storytellers at heart, but how to tell the story is very different. And so I think the excitement of getting this, I mean, it's like you're a little kid kind of on Christmas, right? Like you're like, oh my gosh, it's a real thing. Like, because it doesn't feel real, even though it is. Like we were getting illustrations, JPEGs sent to us, and we were approving things. It's not like we didn't see any of this until now, but like to actually have it and like turn the pages in, like it's a real three-dimensional object that lives in the world. It's such an exciting feeling.
Yeah.
Well, I come from when I started with journalism in the world of comics, and so I understand the amount of work that goes into every issue, every graphic novel. Being that this was your first, what were some of the challenges that you guys faced and had to overcome? Maybe didn't understand the industry as well because you thought one thing of another. What were some of those bumps in the roads? I'm really curious about that.
Yeah. Well, we still may understand the industry.
Yeah, we're not experts.
Right.
And the timeline element was tricky for me because I think coming from film, I'm not saying everything goes smoothly. Obviously, there's bumps in the road and you have to like figure it out. But like the shoot is the shoot. And then you have a process of post and then you're sort of done. Whereas this, I loved all of our artists. They're all wildly talented, but sometimes they had a different timeline and kind of like, you're like, well, I thought you were going to deliver that thing that you haven't delivered, so we can't move on to the next step until you choose to finish it. And then things
we all know, having grown up reading comics and, like following certain artists and so on. I know that sometimes people take longer than they're going to say, sometimes we're waiting for that next issue and they're like, well, Art Adams takes time, or, whatever it is. But yeah, that process also the writing process. Like we're
Yeah.
used to writing scripts for
Really paring it down was
film
hard.
and web series, TV stuff
Yeah,
like
because you have
that.
to make it so there's like a succinct quality you have to have for comics because you only have so much space on the page. And obviously you have to show a picture's worth 1,000 words. You need to show the images. So you're getting that story, but you have to really disseminate and discern what you want the characters to say in such a finite space.
Yeah.
And I thought you did a great job with that because he was, you know, doing the actual writing. Like we collaborated on the story, we collaborated on the character creation, but he really sat down and
it was a different,
yeah,
it was a
fine-tooth comb.
different format. Like usually when I'm writing a, you know, a script that's going to be filmed, I just write whatever I want, and then I'm like, the rest is somebody else's problem.
Well,
but
I
you
mean,
know,
when you have
like
more space.
now you figure out how to
Yeah.
shoot that. But this way I did have to sort of consider, you know, that we're talking about, we're telling a story with frames, and we're telling a story. We have, you know, a limited amount of space to do it, and you know, what are the images that are important to tell that story.
And you would think somehow that like, because I mean, when you make a movie, you have the images of what you want the pictures to look like for the moving pictures. Like this is a 2-shot and the two of us are here. And like you have those pictures, but us figuring out how to translate it, because we're also not DPs. So like that's not our skill set in film,
Cinematographers or directors of photography.
And so like trying to figure out how to describe to an artist what it is you're trying to get them to draw. Like how do you get a picture that's in your head, out of your head in a way that makes sense?
But then you know what actually reminded me of the film process that I was happy to find is I've always been mystified by editors. Like editors have a most amazing job, and I don't understand the skill myself. But what you know, a good editor will come in and will find things that you never even considered to help tell your story
and then
better.
stick it in someplace else, and then it makes like the moment just hit. And music does that too when you're talking about film.
And working with the artists was very much that. There were some places where I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna, and then they'd send back the artwork, and I'd be like,
brilliant.
Thank you for coming up with that idea. That was much better than any idea that I had.
But then that also would sort of force us to look at it and go, okay, we see what you did there. We loved it, but could you do this to make this clearer? Or like, how can we adjust without you having to redo everything you've done? Like it was a learning process. And so it was really cool though. I mean, that's the thing. Like there's a part of me, it's like, do we do more of them? Or like what do we do? I don't know yet. That's still sort of.
Was it tough to give notes to your artists? Because I mean, me personally, this was me doing my own story, and they gave me this amazing art, but it's not necessarily exactly what I envisioned. I would be terrified to have to be going back to the artist and tell them, can you like make an adjustment? Because I know I told you to do this, but I need actually this.
And I know you spent all that time doing it, and I'm not an artist and I don't have the words to explain it, but could you make this better?
Because it's not do it better. Because it's like, how do you express what it is you need so that they know what that adjustment looks like? Like, because they have to picture it. Like it has to.
Luckily, we had, I mentioned briefly before, but we had a team, Comfort and Adam, Comfort Love and Adam Withers. They do a series of comics, and they're brilliant comic makers and artists.
They're artists in their own right, but
we
they
had
also
met
have,
them. We had met them at a convention, and because we didn't know what we were doing, we said, hey, would you be able to guide us through this process? And they've been so in those moments where we were like, how do I talk to an artist? You know, they were always there as a resource. And
but I admit
very
that
grateful.
I was very naive because I didn't come from comics, even though like even as a kid, I literally had pulls at the comic shop. Like I had my Donald Duck, and I had my Archie, and I had my like those are the books I didn't want superheroes. That wasn't my thing. But I had pulls every week, so I would go get comics every week. So it wasn't like I wasn't familiar with comics. I used to have my comic books, but I just thought one artist did the comic book. I didn't realize there was a letterer and a colorist and like I didn't know there were all these people that went into it. And so that was also part of it, was like figuring out the process and creating kind of a timeline for this step to land so that you then had it to move on to the next step, so that then you could, because you can't start changing things once the letterer is doing the work, because you needed to already have it fixed before. Like, so we did end up with a couple little snafus where we're like, we're so sorry, you guys, we have to make this fixed because it's not working. And those words on that page don't work for the story, for the joke to land. And like, there were some things where we really had to go back to square one and fix it as much as it hurt everything for everybody along the way.
It's been really, really fun to learn about your creative process. Now, the important question, where can people get their hands on it? When and where?
Yes, it's coming out October 9th. So, oh my goodness.
I know.
Is that a week from today? No, a week
it's
from
a week
tomorrow.
from Wednesday.
That's
Yeah,
tomorrow's
week from
Wednesday.
tomorrow.
A
Yeah.
week from tomorrow, it should be available on Amazon.
Yeah.
In print.
Right. We'll we'll probably be just going around town to our local comic shops and saying, hey, do you want to put this on your shelves? But you'll definitely be able to order it on Amazon. It's for right now, it's a print on demand.
Yeah.
Awesome. You guys planning to do any shows, any conventions to showcase it in the near future?
Well, we have some conventions lined up. They haven't all been announced yet, so I'm loath to say where we're going to be, but it's always on our social media. And what I might try to do is bring a small stack with us so that we'll have it with us.
Maybe we'll do some giveaways.
Do some giveaways, perhaps.
And then we're excited to see, where these stories and these characters have gone through so many different lives already, and we want to see what bringing it out in this form will do for I'd love for people to see see the stories and get to know the characters.
Definitely.
Well, Yuri and Tara, thank you so much for your time.
Manny.
Our pleasure. Great way to almost shoot a pilot and to gain interest. I would love to see this as an animated series, so it's going to be great to get into people's hands and see their adventures, because I thought it was very well done. I love the fact that we have historical characters in there, and I just love adventures in that type of era of discovery. So, I mean, not only were we as a society having an adventure of discovering different things with Tesla and with the magic of Houdini, but also, I mean, you guys were having kind of more mythological ones with this Scarab and things of that nature. So
and at the heart of it, the villains are all motivated by greed, and we see what that's doing to us these days. So
when life imitates art, or art imitates life, I'm not sure.
It's not a political comic book, but all there's stuff in there.
Yep, at the root of it all, it is some things like that, like greed, that motivate a lot of people. So thanks again. It was really great to meet you, and I hope to get to talk to you again, maybe on a separate book, or maybe on an animated series, or maybe just in person at a show or
Sounds good.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you so
Thanks so much.
Great chatting with you.
Thanks, Manny. Bye.